be attacking me.
No. I meant the attack isn't directed at Tricks.
Well, welcome to Dissonant Waves, everybody. This is episode 77. Hurts and Tricks are here as always.
Yeah.
Hellos.
And we got 3 albums to talk about once again. Traditional 3-album episode. We've always done it this way. Nothing's ever happened otherwise.
Yes.
We got Stomach Book's self-titled debut. We've got Lana Del Rey back with her second 2021 album, Blue Banisters. And we got the Growlers album from 2013, Hung at Heart.
And I would like to get ahead of things and say, for the first time, I probably sound flawless, or about as flawless as I can.
And I sound alright, except for the parts where I don't speak loudly enough for some reason, and the mic doesn't want to pick it up all the way. Good shit.
Yeah.
And I'm Ritalin.
And this episode title is probably going to be something like "Tricks wants you to know the monsters are the real people are the monsters."
Yeah.
You got there in the end, Dominic.
But really, it should be something like Lana Del Rey's stomach growls at heart.
Something like that.
In our
Can
hearts,
we-
that's the real title. But
Yeah.
Can we go with what we all know, and I know I hate it more than you two do, but can we please just start off with the album we all know is our number 3 of this week? Because I don't want to have to fear about having to talk about this any longer.
It's not going to be my number 3.
all right, Ritalin. Serious question time.
Yep.
Is this album at least better than the Frights?
It's the same kind of quality, and I think these people are worse than the Frights.
Huh.
We disagree then.
Yeah.
I was bored to death listening to this album. I've listened to a lot of surf. I know I said this with the Frights, and I'm gonna just fucking say it again. I have listened to a lot of surf on this podcast. I've listened to enough surf before this podcast. There's been songs and that I have grown up with, which may not have been from surf bands, but have had enough surf overtones, which I've loved. I was listening when I was out with my brother today. Don't Fear the Reaper was playing, and I would argue the guitar in that has surf overtones. I would also argue the guitar for Vampire Weekend's A-Punk. I would argue that song is a surf pop song. I'm obviously one of the biggest fans of Hockey Dad out there. They're one of my favorite bands. They're completely surf punk. We've covered a lot of different varieties, primarily from Tricks bringing them up. I got into Taka Cat pretty easily. I'm still not the biggest fan of Hot Flash Heatwave outside of Malibu and stuff like that. Wunderbar it came back and grabbed me. And yeah, we've listened to some other surf rock punk before on here. I mean, I've also listened to a lot of post-punk and surf rock have some very similar vibes, like Viagra Boys or Div, I would say, have some kind of surf kind of elements in some of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I genuinely do not think I have listened to a surf album which has bored me as much as this one did. And I know I tried to go and listen to this without the context of how horrible the Growlers are as people. And I have friends who actually have listened to Growler songs and like them. And this is my first experience ever listening to them. I had no idea that they were a band until those allegations came up. So this is the first ever introduction I got into this album. And there's a certain level of ego or just this kind of self-importance that you gotta get to even come close to contemplating the stuff that the Growlers did. That's just what you have to be a sociopath to do this kind of stuff. And the Growlers did not even put out anywhere near good enough music to think they were top shit enough to do anything that they did. Granted, you can never be good enough to be a fucking sexual abuser. That's just not the case. But these people weren't even good enough to tell their fans to fuck off. And here they are, some of the most boring music I've listened to probably this year. Not as bad, not as bad as Tones and I, not as bad as fucking Dee Dee Ramone. Those are still way below. But I hate these people as people, and I hate them as musicians. I don't care if this is a fucking hot take, because I'm fucking sticking to it.
I guess I should just kind of start by saying, although these people are monsters, this album means a lot to me as to how I shaped myself as a musician and how I shaped the music I like as it is. I first listened to this album when I was 18, and this was like one of the first big surf albums I heard, and it made me fall in love with the genre. I love songs like I love 1 Million Lovers. It's just a beautiful love song, even though it's by some deeply horrible people. But I this album means a lot to me, and I am sad about how the Growlers acted.
Look, I'm gonna put out there that I can make many a joke and everything like that. I'm gonna actually try and take this as seriously as I can, especially when it comes to the insults I'm gonna throw at the Growlers. Like I've had a band that I've absolutely grown up. I've been in the same exact position when it comes. You've grown up with a band, that band's completely shaped your music taste, and then it's turned out they're been a bunch of assholes, or
I've been there as
one of the
well.
most important one. I mean, brand new for me. That was the band I grew up with. It got me a lot into that alternative side. And Jesse Lacey's an absolute cunt. With Dominic, it was Ethan Carth, and it's a very Ethan Carth and Crystal Castle's. I don't know how to pronounce it anyway. Like not
fine.
pronounce it. Sorry, like
Don't
say
worry
it.
about it. Just go, keep
Get
going.
involved, but yeah. But it is a very unfortunate reality when it comes just to the artist, and that's where the kind of line "Don't meet your heroes" comes from. Is that a lot of the things that you grow up with is just not as good as it seems, and that's the tamest way I can put it. But I'm not listening to this album myself. It kind of I'm thinking about, oh, this is how it shaped Trix's music or anything. I'm just listening to this as an album as its own merit. If this was the first ever album I listened to, and I know it would not have been for you, you would have grown up on other shit. You know, maybe I'd be a bit more impressed because it's not the mainstream sound. I can see this as the classic underground surf rock sound, but like hearing stuff like 1 Billion Lovers being a great love song or anything, it sounds generic, and this is legitimately the thing that pisses me off about this album the most. Is none of this sounds sincere. This is the least sincere album I've heard in a while.
That's
Probably
down to
probably since D.D. Ramone, to be honest.
that is just Brooks Nielsen's style. You either love it or you absolutely hate it, like yourself. But
Yeah.
there are some songs where it doesn't work at all that aren't not one big main one off this album that I can think of, but like there's a song off City Club that where he's talking about how he says high-assed women, and I've been trying to figure out what the fuck that means for like 2 years now.
Look, if it wasn't for Rancid Eddie coming out with songs that were talking about how women are cum rags, I would say that it would be the worst songwriting or lyric writing I've heard. But unfortunately, we've unfortunately heard a lot worse in Australia this year. So it at least manages to narrowly avoid that one. But high-ass women doesn't really seem to be a lyric that's really encapturing me or grabbing my attention in a "oh, that's clever" way. That's just
I don't think it's clever. I can't figure out what the fuck he's saying.
I think it's probably just words that's come to his head. And it's like, yeah, that's good enough. Like
They definitely started to phone it in
like,
around Chinese Fountain.
You can ramble a lot in songs, and I think rambling can work fine. I mean, there's
I like Of Montreal.
I know. Yeah, Of Montreal can kind of do it. I was actually gonna go say like the Allman Brothers bands does it a lot instrumentally. I mean, they have a song called Rambling Man, obviously, but like it's a very fitting song. Rambling is a fine thing. Going and saying nonsensical things has always been fine, but I mean, there's just like there's going nonsensical, there's going rambling, and then there's just phoning it in, and this album just sounds it. I've really kind of now stuck in that loop of just this criticism gets me, but it gets to me, man. This is just what gets to me when you listen to music, and I've always grown up with my dad's way of kind of how music is. It's like it doesn't have to be the most passionate piece of art. Not everything needs to be anthemic or anything, but it all needs to sound like the people they don't even have to be writing it. As long as it's just a singer or something like that, just the people who creating it need to sound like they actually have passion when creating it. And you're usually able to tell with how the album sounds. This one sounds like it's made with no passion. I'm not going to say that the artists here don't have a passion for surf rock or anything like that. I don't know what their songwriting was like. Unfortunately, we only know what one part of their personal lives are like, and it's an absolute dog pile of shit. I can't think of the words on here. I don't need to. Honestly, wasting 5 seconds of thoughts on them is probably a little bit too much. And it's just really bothering. I can't get past an album that sounds like this. It sets off something in my head that just kind of continuously vomits until either it causes a tumor or I go to sleep.
So
Do not like this album.
I thought this is Trix's Paralytic Stalks equivalent for me. That was what I gathered from everything.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to say after that, but
I have made Dominic so speechless as this rant. It's incredible.
I've listened to the Frights. I've listened to the Growlers. I've listened to 2 Growlers albums now since we did
Yeah, we did Casual Acquaintances.
Yeah, late or very early on as one of our first minisodes. So I've dabbled in the Growlers before. They were not memorable super at the time. I don't know if they'll be very memorable to me now, but I do think this album is at least better than the Frights. I remember some of these songs. I can kind of hum the tune, or at least the chorus of some of these songs. I can't say anything about. I don't even remember the titles of the Fright songs. I don't remember anything about that fucking album. We just listened to it like 4 weeks ago.
I will definitely agree that the Frights album is more forgettable. I will agree with that.
So on that alone, I think this Growlers album is comparatively fine. Like, okay. It really rankles me that, like, this whole Burger City thing happened. Sorry, Burger Records, not Burger City. Burger City's a burger joint near me. Sorry to them.
Sounds delicious.
Sounds absolutely delicious.
The whole Burger Records thing, it's like you got all this controversy and all these bands getting, like, called out for this abusive behavior that they perpetrate against their fans, against all these other people involved in the scene, and then it's like, okay, this is the music they're putting out. It's just this. This is the thing that they're all like. This is the important hoity-toity music of that culture that's happening, and it's like, what the fuck, you know? This is music that to me would be otherwise so inoffensive and so just like there.
Well, that's the thing. It's inoffensive. It's accessible. So more people go give it a go, and then when more people listen to it and more people can get through it, they start adding it to playlists. Like, yeah, it's fine background music, and then the more they listen, they go, hey, yeah, I like the show, and then people grow up and go into bands like that. You find there is a lot of cases that do it inaccessible music, but there's also the same amount who do it in inaccessible.
Sure, I mean, yeah,
it's the same. It's the same thing, because the unfortunate reality is that the people who are like this, they're not just one specific type of person that you can narrow down, find in a fucking crowd, and tell them to fuck off from society. No, the cunts who do this type of shit, sometimes you just genuinely do not know. Like, we can't go into what makes someone the way they are, especially in cases like this, because the majority of what we would say, we wouldn't actually have a fucking clue what we're on about.
Right.
But there is a really kind of unfortunate reality that there are a lot of people that you expect, and you only see as much as you do about a person. Like, some artists, like name any pop artist right now that you actually see quite a lot of news stories about. You only see what their PR team puts out. Like I could do it with a more kind of like tamer one. I mean, Dune Rats are a band that's kind of like push themselves out as, oh, we do weed. I mean, weed is the tamest drug they do.
Yeah.
They're on way more, way more, and stuff that they hide as well that they're on. So, you know, it's not always just a case of like, oh, you can't kind of believe in the scene, but it's just the reality is you won't actually know because you think you know people more than you actually do, and that's what's happened with artists like this. I really feel for you, Trix, having grown up listening to this band, because whilst I might not like it, I can see why people can like this music. I can actually legitimately see how this has shaped your listening. You've kind of gone on from an accessible surf rock, and you've started to kind of branch out, go more alternative, and now you're here. And then obviously there was with your more kind of like doom or proggy and stuff like that, which came from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I can see that stuff. And I feel for you because you grow up to this and you kind of go back and you go, oh, nostalgia. It's like, oh, this is where it all started, and then it feels like where it's all started has been tainted.
Yes,
but the kind of thing that's the kind of positive on this, as at least you're no longer solely reliant on that artist or something when it comes to your listening.
Yes,
and that's the reality when it's also with Dominic and Crystal Castles. I mean, there's a lot of bands that Dominic has probably found that sound like Crystal Castles that are a lot cleaner. I've obviously got into a lot more Midwestern emo myself from Midwestern emo unfortunately seems to have a culture problem as well. But regardless of that, American football seems to be fine. I don't really have a follow up into that.
Like you said, I'm not gonna say this is totally emotionless, passionless music, because that itself can be an art. Like I think Health has kind of perfected, at least in the vocals, like having that effectless, like androgynous voice in that way.
I'm just gonna correct you. I think the problem is that the music sounds passionless. It's that it sounds like the people who put the effort into it had no effort into it.
Okay, I would,
because I agree with you that music can sound emotionless, but emotionless can also be an emotion in itself because it can be this. I mean, like one of my favorite examples is "Do I Want to Know," where it actually sounds like at the end of it, Alex Turner is just completely giving up, and that's in itself an emotion. So I do actually agree with you that stuff that sounds emotionless can still be an art in itself. But that's not what it. That's not what my complaint was.
That's not what we're really talking about. Granted, but that's also not what this album is about either.
Yeah.
This album it just reminds me of a group of people meeting up in like a garage, and they're saying, hey, surf punk is popular, let's do surf punk. And so they just do surf punk. Like, okay, let's study these 60s bands, let's study how the music is written, let's try to gather some of those tones. I think some of it's interesting. I do think they have some interesting perspective, and like it's not all for naught necessarily, but none of it is exactly like it's all for nothing really. It sounds fine most of the time. It sounds okay. One song sounds a little fuzzy druggy. One song sounds cool-ish for a while. They just cover their bases, and they got an instrumental track in there. Whoop-de-doo.
That instrumental track is one of my favorites off the album.
Yeah.
Although if I can say one positive about this album, it's given me appreciation for Ty Segall.
There we go. I mean, I thought like stuff like "Burden of the Captain" was interesting, at least in the idea of like a story song like that. Or I can hear Pet Shop Eyes kind of just happening in my mind a little bit. But this is just that part of like surf rock and a part of that just controversy where we're back to like, I think the answer is pretty clear that I think we would probably have this opinion regardless to a degree, but I think the whole thing is amplified how we might feel.
I agree with that.
Especially because it's this kind of music and we feel this way about it. Especially because they were this big part of the scene. They weren't even really on Burger Records that much, but they were still associated with it. Because A, so much bad shit was happening with them specifically. B, they were probably one of the bigger names in the whole group being accused. So they ended up just kind of being in it when maybe they had a couple tapes of a couple albums. But that's neither here nor there at this point. Booker Records is closed, and a lot of those bands are either reforming or gone or not doing much or just trying to move on like nothing's happened. And we have to see what the Growlers will actually do.
I just hope that we can finally just kind of like move on from this, because I'm kind of sick of giving any of the bands in this any more recognition. To be quite frank, I know we're small and stuff, but it's like, and I get the importance of having to do this.
Yeah, I did,
but I'm hoping this is kind of just the last that we can kind of just give any, because I feel I can't speak for any of the victims' perspectives. I don't know the victims. I obviously haven't had any talk on this or had any go and like talk to them and saying like, hey, do you mind if I say your perspective or anything? Because most of the time when it comes to victims like this, in like situations like this, the thing that they kind of most want is the kind of ability to move on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when it gets to stuff like high profile, it's very hard for people to ever stop talking. And I don't know, in cases like this, there becomes a certain point where I just want to like never really talk about it again, because I feel like that's just best for the actual good people involved in it.
Yeah.
Can I promise
But
that
unfortunately, yeah, you can go first. Sorry.
Can I promise that I'm never going to bring up an artist in this vein again? No. Because I do think, there's a lot of them out there. B, it's worth at least highlighting and like mentioning it. So in case someone's listening who didn't know about it, they can at least go and Google it, look it up themselves, or maybe I'll include some links to some stuff in the description for this episode, just detailing what we're talking about a little bit or something.
Oh, I do agree, and I'm not trying to say also on here that not talking about it at all is the best solution, because that's definitely false. If you just ignore everything, that becomes a problem in itself.
Yep.
But there also becomes a point where it's a weird damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You got to strike a balance.
And it's like, I did the Crystal Castles twice because the first episode disappeared. So I felt it had to be done at least once on air.
I will probably never do Ted Nugent, so.
I'm still mad the Big Scary album is a lost episode. That album's fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
I had a mental health issue that week and was dealing with some relationship shit, and I profusely apologize for it.
Listen to Big Scary's Animal.
Yeah.
Fantastic album. But anyway, my kind of segue into it is that, we have 2 albums after this to talk about, and I'm not really so interested in one of the ones that we listened to, but God, I'm so more excited to talk about it than this one.
Favorites: Burden, The Captain, Pet Shop Eyes, Someday maybe, I don't know. Least favorite, Naked Kids just seems really bad to have on your album.
Yeah, I never put that one together.
Ritz mentioned it last week, even.
I forget that, I guess. For me, I really don't have a least favorite. I really like this album.
Your favorites can be problematic. That does happen.
Someday, 1 Million Lovers, and The Fruit is for Everyone are some of my favorites.
My least favorite is All the album, and my favorite is Textbook, because it made me realize I was listening to Lana Del Rey and no longer the Growlers.
So let's talk about Lana Del Rey then. An album that I thought was interesting. Maybe not.
I'm not done with my criticisms this week, because I got one track on this album that I really just want to quickly ask what the fuck, and that's the interlude at the start of it, which suddenly becomes fucking mariachi fucking trap.
It's not mariachi trap.
It's Western trap, you heathen.
It's not mariachi trap. It is one of the most iconic songs in like the genre of Western movies, Western cinema. By Ennio Morricone, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I posted all about it in the chat. It's literally just a trap remix of the trio at the end of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I know that, Dominic, but still, answer the simple 3-word question. What the fuck?
If I had to speculate, which is the only thing I can really do, Lana talks about how, at least in the PR and the interview, it's how this is kind of her telling her story. So, what better way to tell her story than to just give us like the most basic thing of like, yeah, I like 60s shit. This shit was important to me. And you know what? You're not gonna fucking listen to it. You're not gonna fucking listen to it if it's just the song. A, it's not my song then. I can't not credit Ennio Morricone. B, no one listens to that stuff unless they know that movie. So I gotta put a fucking trap beat under it so people will pay attention to it. C, it sounds kind of fucking cool anyway. This beats at Origami Angel's opening.
Alone.
Origami Angel was a fucking bait and switch at the start of the album. This is just a random put it at the start. Not at the direct start like Origami Angel, but after 3 songs have already done. So we're not getting bait and switched here. We're just left scratching our fucking heads.
I will say...
I fucking scratched my head after listening to this, found a bump, went to the fucking doctors, and had to make sure that I didn't just fucking scratch it too hard. It was that hard. Turns out I have a mole, but thankfully it's a healthy one. Regardless on that,
said,
I come back onto here, and I'm still.
He was credited, I believe he was credited. I will say that.
I get that he's credited. I don't have any arguments about the crediting on here.
I was being dramatic. I just wanted to clear that for everybody. But what I'm getting at, though,
this is just really out of place.
I don't think it is.
I love it.
The music and some of the other like tones that come from that soundtrack do go into Black Bathing Suit, but I also happened to listen to Textbook again after listening to the trio, and my god, does that song play on like Western music components in a similar-ish way, because it's a very minimal beat, but that feeling is there if you listen to it right after the trio. That feeling is there. It's somehow like continuous flow, which maybe has the idea that this track list could have been redone somehow, but. Just from how well the Textbook flowed from the trio, I can't say it doesn't fit. There is something to it. I don't know what that something is meant to be.
Look, I'm just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one for that. I don't mind this album, and I'm going to like do the first real big agreeing and saying I like something this week by saying that Textbook is a fantastic opener. I think the openers that she's done for the albums this year have been the best songs she's put out, and then the albums have just kind of fizzled from there.
I like White Dress better, but
I mean, okay. Yeah, I probably would agree White Dress is better, but this album doesn't really get bad except for that fucking mariachi trap, but it just really fizzles for me. I think there's some
stuff.
Yeah, I think it just goes on for too long.
Sure, I can give you that. She did put like 3 of her older songs on here, which some of them I think fit pretty well. Other ones, it's like, okay, I guess she's having a thing where it's all themed about blues stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So she probably heard it in some of her older songs and felt that they were similar enough that it would work. And to a degree, something like "If You Lie Down with Me" or what else was there? I'll have to look at the thing again. But songs like that were meant to be on older albums, but here they are now.
Yeah.
Now, the song that I listened to that made me really want to talk about this album was Dealer. Because, holy shit, she does not care about, like, vocal perfection in the same way that a lot of artists would care about it on an album like this. She really tries to embody that, like, raw singing emotion in this album, I think, which it doesn't matter if it's on key or necessarily in tune with everything else. It's just going for something that is more primal, more, I guess, supposed to be more Lana, you know.
Although, whilst it is more Lana, it also has a lot of Miles Kane's vocal in it.
I love that as well.
I'm not saying I don't like it.
Or like the end of Living Legend, where she just becomes an electric guitar with her voice. Good shit. Really good shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really hit me so hard, but unlike the last album, I think even at this album's worst, though, it was still very, like... Lana can still put out very calming music at her worst, which is good for an artist at this time of her career. I mean, how long has she been under the Lana Del Rey moniker for?
About 10
Thanks.
years.
Yeah, which is quite a lot in today's day and age, especially for pop stars.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Lana Del Rey's always kind of gone into the whole alternative side of that poposphere, but even still, then that is still quite. Well, it's usually kind of even harder for the alternative ones to kind of like have this longevity. I mean, we're seeing Lorde have that now.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish might have that. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Apparently, her album's kind of dropped off a bit more than they were expecting with her. So I guess we'll see. But
if not her, they still have
I'd be
Phineas.
But then there's a lot of other like pop, like one-hit wonders, I guess, that have happened over the past 50 years or so that just have them and then you never really hear of them again.
Yeah.
Especially when they've been a bit more alty.
Well, I think the thing with Lana is that her image has always been very her-centric. You know, it's not like Billie Eilish where I feel like you can kind of see and feel the producer, handler kind of perspective, you know?
Well, the Billie Eilish case, like, she doesn't really hide that it's just her and her brother produces it. Lana Del Rey, I mean, has always been PR and always made it look like... I mean, Lana Del Rey's image has always been manufactured to seem more real than it actually was, so...
Right. But it's so all-encompassing that it feels like she's just doing this all, you know, for herself, and it's all just coming from her. And now she has an album where she begins by talking about daddy issues, and then her dad is on the piano in the last track. Well, there's something there.
Yeah.
And what was the original cover art that they put there that got a lot of flack?
That was Chemtrails.
No, it was for Blue Banisters, I'm pretty sure. There was an original album art. Yeah, this is the one where it was obviously right now she's got the image of her petting her dogs.
Max and Max, yep.
But I'm posting what the original album art was in a Discord.
Oh yes,
chat
I've seen that.
Yeah, the new one's better.
Yeah, I agree. The new one's better. I agree that I don't like Blue Bannister's original album art, but I can't for the life of me explain why.
I think it fits more what she's going for, but I think it's too curated for that.
Yeah.
It's like it's telegraphing you that this is meant to be more raw and unfiltered and all that stuff. And it seems, I think, a little less appealing because of how hard it's pushing that, like,
although this
non-clean
should
angle.
have been the photo that they used.
Oh, that's super cute.
I know. So the one that's at the moment right now, Lana's like, got the frown on and the dog. But there's another one where she's smiling. And I don't know if it's actually used for anything. But she's smiling and the dogs are up. They're not sleeping anymore, and they got their tongues out.
Yeah, it's very cute.
A lot better of an album.
Blue Banisters was the single art, the first one.
Okay.
It was the single art for Blue Banisters.
Interesting.
I think it was supposed to originally be the album art though.
Maybe.
As well. I guess I could also make sure of that before completely going, but it looks like it was.
But there's stuff in this album where it just feels like she's just trying different stuff sometimes too. You know, it's her, but it's also her experimenting, because you have that whole like string horn section at the end of, I think it's If You Lie Down With Me, where it becomes very like Sufjan Stevens for a second.
Yeah.
They got the trumpets and everything. It's like, I think Chemtrails was more experimental in some of the ways that she sang and maybe some of the ideas, but this is more experimental in terms of presenting a raw image. And she's still experimenting with how she sings, but it's more of a passioned experimentation of fuck, you know, trying to keep on pitch, on key. Let's just go for the emotional take.
Yeah.
Oh, so it seems the one with the smiling dogs is an official alt cover.
Good.
Oh, that's good.
Should have been the actual cover, but you get what you get.
Yeah.
Just want my smiling dogs, you know. They look like
Yeah.
look like good boys.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, good little German shepherds.
I'm sure Lana really appreciates them.
I wanna pet every puppy.
Yeah, I see.
And despite being an album that's supposedly about Lana's story, I still feel nowhere near closer to understanding who she is or what she's about, really.
I mean,
Like
I don't
she's-
really care about Lana's story. I just wanted to sing like she's always been singing.
She's talking about masks and COVID and Black Lives Matter now, I guess. But beyond that,
Yeah, whatever it's been coming to Lana talking about politics, my line of thinking is, oh fuck, what the fuck did she say this time? Hey guys, here's a long Instagram post about my problems with feminism, problems that don't actually exist. Oh,
Why trans people don't deserve rights by Lana Del Rey.
oh
Mm.
god,
I don't think she's gotten that bad. Although I've intentionally like not followed anything she said, so
I am of course joking.
yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
for legal reasons, Trix is
For
true.
legal reasons, this is a joke.
You know, I checked out what Santana had to say about this album and some of the tracks because I was very curious.
Spoilers, 5 out of 10.
It's like, it was like a 6.
I thought it was 5, but
It was probably like a strong 5 to a late 6 or something.
yeah.
But the things that
Continue
he pointed out that I thought that I kind of just completely disagreed about, the things that I was hoping he would praise are those like more experimental, less clean style vocals, or like just more kind of saying fuck this like perception of me, this really clean cultured image of me. But he just kind of goes on about how she's singing out of key and making really obvious vocal flubs.
Well, if it makes you feel better, this is one of Fantana's most controversial reviews.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty 50-50 with the like-dislike ratio.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Hmm.
But because I guess I agree with that though, because it seems like he's just rating her on, you know, is she singing proficient enough? Is she singing on key and doing the things that, you know, he's expecting like a normal singer in a normal album to do, you know, not seeming to catch on necessarily or really even care that this is meant to be. Well, he mentions it in the review that this is kind of like a first draft or like something like that. But I think like this is all an intentional style and a style that I appreciate, you know. So I think there's more to just analyzing someone like Lana or analyzing an artist like this, especially one that has a good amount of songwriting credits in her name. And like it's worth considering, like, is this stuff intentional? Is this stuff meant to be showing a different side of her songs, a different side of her performance, a different side of just how music is supposed to be?
Yeah.
I mean, album, fine.
Yeah, album pretty good.
I think Dealer's a fucking banger of a song. The just the nice low jazz beat to Miles Kane's voice to just the way that Lana goes for that chorus is so interesting and so nice for me to hear that I just can't help but love it. So that's going to be my favorite. I also like the trio interlude. I like Living Legend, especially for that vocal guitar in a section. Least favorite's probably going to be something like Thunder or Wildfire, Nectar of the Gods, somewhere around there.
My favorite's Textbook. I thought it was a fantastic opener, and then my least favorite's that fucking interlude.
My favorite is that interlude, because I just like Ennio Morricone, and yeah, turning it into a trap remix is a little weird, but I can gel with it.
It's kind of the audacity of it, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah, the Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of this bitch.
Yes. Nothing is sacred. Let me just call back to this, but also just risking everybody mad. That's why I wanted your dad to hear it, because I'm sure he would hate this.
Yeah, well, he doesn't like spaghetti western music to begin with.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Like
Interesting.
he hates the term, but like when I explained to him that I like the stuff, he's like, why?
It's incredible music. It's really
Yeah.
good. Like the way that track builds at the end of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is phenomenal.
Oh, it is.
Like the way Orichan's music overall fits in within that movie is so just fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you don't really need to do much with it. You just kind of just lay it in over the scene. You don't really have to like edit it around or anything or do any of that. It's just, okay, let's play these sections over this part. It all fits together.
Yeah.
That could be for our Dollars Trilogy podcast episode eventually 5 years down the line. Anyway.
Yes, something like that.
So, did you have any of the favorites? Oh, did you have any least favorites?
I don't really have any least favorites. This album is just all around pretty good.
Okay. So, covered Lana, covered Growlers. Let's go for Stomach Book.
The
Album fucking amazing.
yeah, I was gonna say this one's managed to get a clear number one all across the board this week, hasn't it?
Yes.
I was just like, when I was picking this one, it's like, hey, this is an interesting email one. It was actually recommended on the Twitter of Homer's Ware, so I figured, hey, bit of lore going into this. It's an interesting listen. Let's cover it. And throughout the fucking start of this week, you two would not shut up about it.
It is fucking good.
I like this, and it's my number one this week, but I don't think I liked it as much as you two seem to have just gelled with it. Don't get me wrong, I don't have bad things to say about it. It's just like you two.
Really, like it's the second half of the album that really does it for me.
Oh, I agree. I fully agree. Fucking Ode is my favorite off this.
Oh, the bass tone on Ode is fucking incredible.
Our Story is my favorite track of this, and because it's just so multi-phase and so just interesting to listen to. And like the mixing of the whole thing is obviously all over the place. I can't begrudge Gibberell, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's her Twitter handle anyway, and seems to be the name she goes by. I can't begrudge her for not really knowing how to mix. That's pretty much what she said. She just kind of did what she could do.
Yeah.
And that, so you get kind of that shrieking parts of the Lullaby for an Angel's Egg Part 1, which get really, really shrieky and really, really blow your speakers out kind of shit.
Yeah.
But to kind of counteract that with such a good album anyway, really powerful. It's so destructive. It's so just like, fuck everything. And just kind of throws in all these different bits and pieces where it's emo, but it's so much else happening.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Is the way to open an album.
What was it?
Animals is the way to open an album.
Yes. And then to go even louder with We All Fall Down. Fantastic choice. Just love that volume shift. It's like, oh god, I gotta turn it up.
The best way to open an album is with a full cover of Pink Floyd's Animals. I'm sorry, I'm late on that joke.
And then you turn it up for We All Fall Down, and you keep it going for Lullaby for an Angel's Egg, and then you gotta turn it way down.
Oh, I definitely agree. When you're saying like the second half, I think even more condensed for the part that I think is the best. It is from Ode to I guess Our Story is kind of right, but Ode's where it just really picks up, and it just doesn't drop for the rest of the album.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, Angel's Egg Part 2 is the better of the two.
Oh, definitely, and even though it's like pretty much an instrumental song,
Yeah.
it's fucking great. I mean, Ode's my favorite. I think when I was saying It Doesn't Fall Down, yeah, the other three tracks aren't as good as Ode, but that's not like because the songs are bad. It's because fucking Ode is just up there.
And
It's got a really good chorus. I think it's the way to describe this album. It's a clusterfuck of a song, but it's a clusterfuck that knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, she's mentioned Paranol as an album she really likes this year, like we do. Anime music has been a huge reference point, I know. Like, kind of like anime themes, like that really kind of get you pumped up, excited, but it's also really instrumentally complex. Kind of stuff, which I do definitely hear in this. Like, especially kind of later in the album, there's a lot of that, like, almost 90s alternative guitar sound in there.
Yeah.
So I think the way the places she's drawing from and kind of creating this cacophony, but like a good cacophony of sounds and ideas, somehow just like pulls out everything and brings like a cohesive album together somehow.
Yeah.
There's so many just parts and so many just one-off lines or just things happening at points that
I think the only
the
fear I
confidence
have
here.
going, the only fear I have going into stomach books like kind of future, is that this is a sound that could really tiptoe onto the whole it's either great or shit. And any kind of future releases kind of have to prove that she can continue on with this kind of creativity and songwriting and all of it. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be as good as this. This is a fantastic debut. But it would be really interesting to see how her career moves on from this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she is still quite underground. I mean, the most amount of plays any song has on here is 3K. I think she's starting to get more monthly listeners. Like on Spotify, she's got less than 1,000 right now.
I'll check YouTube Music right now.
That's really small, and it's probably gonna go up for a while, and then we see what happens from there. And you know, hopefully this starts to get the recognition that it deserves. This is
14 subscribers on YouTube.
I mean,
this is probably one of the wildest experiences of the year. I don't think it's anything in my top 10 or anything for this year, but I think it's still quite a cool experience to go through. Again, I was talking about that the opening track, but I love at the end of the second verse where it just starts to get even more aggressive. Like the whole way she starts going ready to despise you just hits so fucking well.
Yeah.
Also, it's a lot of like screaming without it being necessarily like lyrical at points too. I kind of like where it's more of a tantrum, but like in a fun way, I guess, or like an interesting way, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Which is such a basic thing to point out, I feel like, but it kind of puts her brand of like emo in a different spot where a lot of the screaming is not necessarily lyrical, it's just screaming. But I did do some digging. I'm pretty sure it's the same person, has had some releases before under Gibberell the name. I can't remember if it's a very similar name or just the name, and it's just like, is this the same person? Not quite sure, but it is something we could potentially dig into and find out more about.
I love that she's got a playlist on Spotify called Gibberell Jams there, and the description is, my music taste is based and I'm tired of pretending that it's not.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
She was saying on Twitter that because she's like ADHD or something like that she has to have like a playlist of what her style is to remind herself of what her style is. So it just doesn't accidentally make something else.
Yeah.
She's got the microphones on there, and she's got brand new, and then obviously I think she's got some Hermes wear. I think I just saw.
She's referenced Neutral Milk Hotel on her Twitter as well, so she knows the bases.
Yeah.
Got Gotye in there, but only somebody that I used to know. Come
Still
on,
a good
Gibberell, go! Come on, put on some Like Drawing Blood.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's all I'm asking.
I'm looking at the Bandcamp page. Our profiles are still underneath the album and the on the page of the album. I recognize your picture and my picture. One of the people who have bought it.
I should give it a buy.
I gave it a buy the first listen.
And I gave it a buy probably the first or second listen as well. But like,
I'm trying to see where mine is. Oh, there it is. There's yours. I see Dominic Chikoki. Sorry.
I'm wondering if this is this recent? Is this just the first people who bought it? I wonder. I don't know how Bandcamp really does this part of the thing.
I don't either.
Because it'd be interesting to get to see okay, it seems to be selling among some people. Okay. But this is I guess I'm just curious because this is meant to be something to help pay down her student debts, get a car, start her transitioning, all that extra stuff. Not extra, but all that stuff.
Yeah.
But and then looking at the single releases and how we kind of go through the album in a sense. Like we started Animals, We All Fall Down, jump to Requiem, jump to Ode, and how Greetings from Oblivion comes a couple months later and is like the last single before it's just okay. Here's the album now.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure a lot has happened, and a lot has kind of maybe like formed this music and inspired this music.
Oh, so the last two tweets that she's put out is talking about how somebody's pirated the album and just said, "Hey, just like you don't have to buy my stuff. I have download codes if you want them."
And Homosware is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Homosware you can actually, I'm pretty sure, off one of the Bandcamp, it is a pay what you want.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's literally $1 for their whole discography as well, which is what I paid for.
Yeah.
I think I just own I Became Birds because I bought the vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same with me. But other important thing though is that apparently cassettes are being worked on for this album. So
Cassettes are being worked on.
Yeah,
Sweet.
there will be some
I'll pick
physical.
one up.
If you go
there will be some
to
physical.
if you go to her link tree on her Bandcamp, there is merch.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, there's surprisingly there's shirts. I mean the album cover. This is not an album art that works on a shirt. That's just like
No.
the image. I could see this working as like a full shirt, like if somebody colored the whole shirt to be in this kind of
Yeah,
same
that would be
theme.
Yeah,
dope.
like all over print. I could really see that.
No,
But
as a tote
obviously-
bag. Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
See,
Tote
there's like
bag's fun.
there's like a crew neck sweater looking cut over here, and
Hmm.
it seems to be filling out that space a little bit better. But yeah, having that full body like just all over, I would love to see.
Obviously, that would cost a lot more though.
It would be worth it.
Although the actual logo on the tee is a lot cooler because it doesn't have like that whole kind of square look on it. It's been a lot more like transparent of an image, and that's just of the I don't know what the logo is supposed to be. I'm pretty sure it's like supposed to be like a cat,
Yeah, I believe she's referred to as a cat on her Twitter.
and it's a cat. It's a cat, which his head's getting chopped off, and that's what the album art as well is. It's
And also
kind
no
of-
abdomen. It's just the head and the legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is stuff for Greetings from Oblivion's cover art as well. If you're interested in that version, if you want something a little bit cleaner.
Mhm.
And that's just like text and black and white
Oh,
stuff.
fuck.
You alright?
Oh fuck! What's
Yeah, I
up
just accidentally poured ginger ale on my PS4.
on your PS4?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I didn't want to. Just I spilled it.
How much?
I'm not like a splash.
Oh.
Still, like a splash of ginger ale on your PS4 is not something you want.
Last week or two, my Bluetooth speaker fell from my shelf onto my PS4.
Oof.
They both survived, but the ventilation in the PS4 is cracked in the back, so it's just more exposed now.
Yeah, better airflow.
Yeah. Like the whole piece came off, and now I can just get the hard drive out, I guess. But either way.
I mean, it's a good album. That's really
Yeah.
all I can say.
Album good.
You threw it out on a whim, and it ended up winning. How do you feel?
Yeah.
I think it just goes to show you two have shit music taste.
I mean,
Well, you're gonna hit my pick for next week.
oh god.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
How many times can we have Riddle and hate a pick before he just quits?
Oh, I hate everything, so I'm all good.
Okay, good.
All right, should we just go into the favorites, least favorites for this?
Favorite? I don't have a least favorite. This has nothing to do with least favorite.
No.
Yeah.
You're right, and pretty much the only reason that this album doesn't get a 10 is because its mixing is a bit wonky.
If I had to pick a least favorite, it'd only be Angel's Egg Part 1 because of that shrieking.
And yeah, but favorite is Ode. Fuck, that's a song.
Oh fuck, Ode is a tune.
Our Story for me. The Ode's pretty good too.
Ode's not like, and I know I'm going a lot at Ode. It's not like in. It probably won't even be in my top half of songs this year. I've just listened to a lot of good songs this year, but like, still a great song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our Story might go somewhere for me, I bet. I make a song list.
I need to fuck with my rankings. I got free time. I should do that. Spend a day just going through everything.
It's like all of this is happening, but her vocal patterns are so clear and so nice and good that it kind of cuts through everything and kind of just keeps it interesting.
Yeah,
It's really fascinating how this album can come together despite it being so chaotic.
yeah,
And I can see where this has a future in terms of, like, in a way being its own offshoot of like PC music in a sense.
Yeah, I could-
destructive
I was
genre.
definitely getting those vibes.
But like in a similar way, how PC music kind of became like a weird offshoot of just like noise kind of music in terms of just the not even the abrasiveness, but just kind of like the harsh tones and all that stuff. I'm doing a bad job describing it. The theory I'm still working on, but yes, good shit.
Good, very good shit.
Easily
If you're gonna
number
listen to one album this week, listen to this one.
yes, the whole thing.
Yes, all of it, all 41 minutes of it.
So
So ranking's going to be the exact same for me and Dominic, I reckon, and then Triggs is just going to swap 3 and 2.
Yeah,
So I guess ours is going to be the Growlers number 3, Lana number 2, Stomach Book number 1, which makes Tricks Lana number 3, Growlers number 2, Stomach Book number 1.
yes,
Yep.
And as we said before, sometimes the monsters are real people.
yep.
Oh. All right. Well, everyone choose the albums that we're doing.
How about I start, because I already teased that I know that Ritz will hate it. So this was an artist I was planning on doing back in January, actually, maybe February, and then it just kind of slipped by. I've been thinking about doing them for a while, but what got me back on them is that when Domino and I were in Nashville, we were talking to Lorenzo, and he said that he played a show with this band for no crowd, and that band is Boy Scott, and I'm going to be doing their album Goosebumps.
Boy Scott, you said was the.
Yes.
Like Boy Scouts
yep.
and like Boycott put together.
Yeah, boy, the name Scott, mashed together.
Goosebumps.
And Goosebumps
Dominic,
has a space in it. It's not one word.
Dominic, and I'll let you go next.
Okay. So, I had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to do next. What it came down to being was, what did I most want to do next? Of any of my ideas for the rest of the year, what absolutely deserved to be next? And we talked a lot about, like, emo revival. We've talked about a lot of the stuff around kind of what's been happening with Origami Angel, Home is Where, all that stuff.
Oh my god, we're doing Paramore?
No. There's one album we've mentioned time and time again that we have not gotten to yet. So
Here we go.
I'm actually going to do an album and an EP because Trix and I are going to the Glass Beach concert next month.
Yes,
this month. This is recording on Halloween, actually. Happy Halloween. So next month we're going to go see Glass Beach. So
we are,
because Home is Where is opening for them. So
that we are.
What this means is I would like to do the first Glass Beach album with Home is Where's Our Mouths to Smile and that extra Henry single.
I'm gonna spoil one thing about this.
Yes.
Neon Glow from the Glass Beach album. I actually put that higher than any Origami Angel song in that year's song countdown. So I'm already happy with doing that.
All right.
It's a good album. But I've decided for next week, and it might be a bit of a bitch, but at least the way that I'm going to be doing this one, a little bit easy to take some breaks here. And throughout this year, there has been a shit ton of EPs that I have listened to, and I don't really get to cover them unless I really think it's great. I mean, I managed to sneak into Kai Meister because that one was with all the other parts of that, managed to sneak in 3 in there. We obviously got Mitchell J and OK Cool together.
Yeah.
It's kind of than that. But there's still quite a lot that we haven't done. I mean, we haven't done Baby Doobie, haven't done Beach Bunny, and I'm not going to be doing those ones. But I am going to be doing 3 other EPs from some lesser known bands that I just really want to cover before the end of the year is over. They might not be the best stuff on here. In fact, they got to not be as experimental as the past couple of weeks has, because my god, I've been doing nothing but experimental music recently. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing 3 EPs. We're going to be doing Fan Club Wallets Hurt is Boring. Sorry, Tricks, I know the car crash one might be a bit visceral
I'll
for you.
I'll just skip that song.
Yep. We're
What?
going to be doing
Okay.
We're going to be doing Pinkish Blues, People Just Do Good Things Sometimes, and we're going to be doing Bread Club's Queen of Hearts. 3
Alright.
EPs in 1 week when I get them all covered.
So Fan Club Wallet Head is Boring.
Hurts is boring, not Head is boring. Head is fucking fantastic, thank you very much.
So Hurts like HERTZ or HURTS?
HURT, Hurt is boring.
Hurt is boring. Pinkish Blue People what?
People just do good things sometimes.
People just do good things sometimes. And then Bread
And-
Club's Queen of Hearts.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I will say next week is going to be our 100th recording.
Damn.
Damn,
So I think this
but
is
not our 100th episode.
no. Not even our 100th released episode. But I think this is a good mix of stuff to bring into it.
Yeah.
So to reiterate, Boy Scott, Goosebumps, Glass
More
Beach,
surf.
the first Glass Beach album, plus Home is Where, Our Smile to Smile, plus the Alabama Henry single that they also released, just to do everything of theirs that's not like an audio tree release. Plus Fan Club Wallet, Hurt is Boring EP, plus Pinkish Blue, People Just Do Good Things Sometimes EP, plus Red Club, Queen of Hearts EP. Have I missed anything?
No, it looks good.
Okay.
Do you remember Trix's album there?
Goosebumps by Boy Scott.
Yeah, cool. I couldn't remember if you said it or not.
More surf from me.
Yeah.
And if we want to risk it, the week after that may be our last 2021 episode of the year. We'll see.
New metal from me.
But beyond that, that's going to be Dissonant Waves for us. I've been Dominic.
Yeah.
You can reach me on Twitter at DACICHOCKI. I've written about video games for Tilting Windmill Studios in the past. You can go to tiltingwindmillstudios.com to read about it. Wish. But hopefully there'll be more coming out of that sector soon. My student / short film beat is on YouTube, my YouTube channel. I have it pinned to my Twitter. Watch it if you want. I like it. It's something I've released that I like. Yeah, Games My Mom Found podcast is a podcast I've guested on a few times, so listen to that if you want to hear more of me in the podcast realm. Yeah.
I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on my website, Ritalin for Kids at github.io, even though there's no real contact form on there, because fuck you. I also have a YouTube channel where you could probably actually contact me, because YouTube says to me, fuck you. That'll be in the description below. There's no other contact I'm giving out this week.
Oh, funny enough, Boy Scott's playing in Chicago today.
Oh shit.
Crick, go! You gotta make it.
They're
End the
pl-
podcast so we can make it. Trick, say your shit.
They're playing with Jody. I don't even know who Jody is.
I've been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter at procrastinaut_. That's like procrastinating astronaut and then an underscore at the end of it. I also have a Twitter bot that calls my roommate horny and says piss a lot. And you can catch us all at Dissonant Waves space and on the Dissonant Waves YouTube channel. You're probably listening to this now.
Yes.
And Twitter at Dissonant Waves. I knew I was forgetting something.
Hell yeah. That's going to be it for us then.
Yeah.
Let's have a fun time next week. I'm very curious if that's all going to go down.
We
Yeah.
got 4 EPs. I think that's a record.
No, we've done like 9 things in one episode. That whole Lucas Gugas episode was really wild. But this hopefully will be just as wild. Have
The
a
of
good night.
Montreal, daughter of Cloud.
That was an accident. I am sorry.
Quite all right.
Until
night.
then, next time.
Bye.